It's 6:30, so I'm going to get us started. Meeting is going to come to order. I'd like you all to please rise to salute the flag. Good evening and welcome to the October meeting of the Revere Board of Health. My name is Dr. Natalie Kong, chairperson of the Revere Board of Health. Joining me for tonight's meeting are board members Dr. Craig Costanza and Neza Luaudi. Also in attendance for tonight's meeting are City of Revere staff, Lauren Buck, Director of Public Health, Michael Wells, Director of Municipal Inspections, and Paula Sepulveda, our Administrative Assistant. I just want to say we have a packed house, so thank you all for wearing your masks indoors. I see everyone wearing one. In addition to having a packed house, have a very packed agenda, so we'll be moving pretty expeditiously through each item. The first is going to be the Public Health Communicable Monthly Report, which Lauren Buck normally reads aloud, but in the interest of time, Neza and Craig, you'll find the documents in your folder, which you can review at your own time. Following that, we will have a contact tracing information request from the Mass Department of Public Health to the Mass Department of Public Health from North Suffolk Public Health Collaborative. Lauren Buck will be presenting on that. And then we'll head into the condemnation proceedings for 843 North Shore Road. And we'll end with the public hearing on amendments to the smoke-free workplace regulation. I also want to add that originally, when we published the topics to be discussed this evening, we had another agenda item, which is finalizing and signing the regulations for the keeping of bees in Revere. In the interest of time, we are withdrawing that agenda item, and that will be moved to next month, the November Board of Health meeting. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Lauren to get us through the contact tracing information letter.
Thank you, Dr. Kong. So I'm coming to you on behalf of the North Suffolk Public Health Collaborative and the City of Cambridge. So that's Revere, Chelsea, Winthrop, and Cambridge, to present a letter that we're hoping to have all of the boards of health sign. The letter is to the State Department of Public Health. The state's contact tracing collaborative, which is currently operating right now and has been since the beginning of the COVID pandemic, is coming to an end at the end of this year. Because of that, the state has allowed grants for communities to come together to form their own contact tracing teams, which we have done with the cities I mentioned at the beginning, Chelsea, Winthrop, Revere, and Cambridge. But we are hoping to urge the Department of Public Health to help us train our contact tracing team that we are setting up, share resources that they have already developed that they've already developed and are using with their current team at the state. And so the letter is asking that the Board of Health supports a letter that will be signed hopefully by all 4 of these communities that again asks the CTC to share materials, protocols, procedures, training activities, documentation, guidance, to assist and help us in the coordination, dissemination, and promotion of shared investigation, job opportunities, job descriptions that they've used in the past, and to kind of bring us all together to make sure we are using best practices and evidence-based decision-making when we're building these teams, because they have the experience, they have the knowledge base right now that we don't necessarily have. And that is the letter that I'm presenting to you all tonight.
Yeah, I read the letter. I don't know if we necessarily need to put it to a vote. I don't think so. I mean, I'm all for it, so we'll certainly sign it at the end of this evening's meeting.
Thank you so much.
The next order of business is going to be the condemnation proceedings for 843 North Shore Road, which I believe is this table in front of us. What was that?
If there's anyone here for the property owner or the occupants.
Good evening. My name is Laurel Bretta, and I represent the property owner, Lewis Martin. Thank you for your time tonight. And with me are 2 of the tenants who reside in the building, and have so for quite some time. I believe they have statements they want to address as well, but I'll be open for your questions, please.
I don't have any questions right now, but I'd love to hear from the tenants. Do you want to do a quick presentation first? Sure.
Thank you. Dr. Kong and board members, Peter Brown for the Department of Municipal Inspections, as well as the Revere Fire Department. Here with me is the Electrical Inspector, Matteo Fabiano, General Counsel of Department of Municipal Inspections, Cheryl McCormick, and my Associate Attorney, Tony Brunco, and the Director of Municipal Inspections, Mr. Wells, is here as well. Before you tonight is a unusual request, but it's ones that we have brought before, and that is for a written finding and an order of condemnation for the property at 843 North Shore Road. There are a number of violations at the property. There are a number of unsafe conditions, but the reason that we're here and that it is so urgent is that the electrical inspector has determined, together with the support of the deputy fire chief, that the electrical hazards are so great and the possibility of fire so significant that he feels it necessary to notify the power company to have the power terminated over at the property. That is within his jurisdiction, under his statute, his authority, and his expertise, and that is an action that he is taking. We have issued, in order to correct identifying these violations, we have given notice to the property owner and through council, and this has gone on now for quite some time. The order was issued on August 13th. There has been no pulling of permits, no immediate work done to remedy any of the issues that occur on the outside or the inside. The deputy fire chief went to the property on September 29th to go and confirm the severity of the conditions and the need for this relief, and he did that, and he supports this petition. Basically, we have electrical wiring and things that is functionally coming off of the house. We have improper and illegal electrical wiring all throughout the house. We have an illegal gas line running through the second floor of the house. We have a single-family residence that's operating as a two-family residence with 2 units, even though it's only 1 unit. And on the second floor, the only means of a second egress is a hatch through the floor, which is covered by a large dresser. Unfortunately, God forbid a fire were to go and break out in this property, given the fire load capacity issues, the egress issues, and the complete lack of any fire protection at all, people are going to get seriously injured or die, including public officers and firefighters and members of the home. We have notified the property owner, and as we know that he has other properties, don't know if he has the resources and ability to relocate these occupants while any repairs are done. But we've also notified CAPIC, which has helped us in the past with relocation assistance, and we have them on call ready to take action. So with that, the electrical inspector is going to take this action. It's warranted, and we would ask that the board take a vote this evening authorizing the immediate condemnation. We would work with the owner and the occupants over the next 24 to 48 hours to try and do this in the most organized way possible and to try and get them back in the house as fast as we possibly can. But we would ask that you take an affirmative vote and that you endorse the orders that have been attached as Exhibit A to the petition.
Could I ask the electrician, how often in the past have you had to ask the power company to shut off power to a home?
Probably about 5 times in the last 4 years.
In the last 4 years?
Yeah.
And can anyone, either the tenants or if the owners here, how many folks live in this property right now?
Thank you. This is representing the homeowner. Currently, there are tenants living on the first and second floor, and I would like to address some of the issues after. after I respond to your questions.
Oh, how many tenants in the first and how many on the?
This is the first floor tenant, and this is the second floor
So
tenant.
just two people live in the,
No, my husband and son live with me.
okay, so three on the first floor and how many on the second floor? Just, so four individuals, okay. I would love to hear from the tenants.
Thank you. I'll let the tenants go first.
All right, I've been living at that house 13 years. My father died in my bedroom back years and years ago. We had this house for a long time. There was never no complaints. Every time we had a winter storm, the electricity never went out. Nothing went out. We got heat, we got hot water. I come home every day from work, take a shower, relax, eat a food, blah, blah, blah. My Uncle Tom Watson built this house back in the olden days when there was a store in front of that. We never had any complaints. No one issued anything. It's like, why shut the house down? There's no fire hazards. If there was some serious fire hazards, we would have known about it because the fire people would have came. So many accidents in front of that house. They came by my house the other day and they're looking at a wire. I'm saying, well, that's the guys from the lamppost. They took the lamppost down. The guy hit it, almost got killed. And they took the wire from my house and cut it off. I said, that's got nothing to do with us. That's got something to do with the people who's running electricity. And God forbid, really, none of us ever happened any problems in the house. I've been there 13 years, nothing wrong with it. It's just that someone said something because there's a hole in the sidewalk. And beside it was a sewer cap and a gas pipe. And I kept on calling the city, telling them to come fix it. They couldn't fix it because it belonged to the state. I said, there's people from the old folks that come down there. And there's a guy next door that's got a wheelchair. That hole was so big, someone could have fell in it and sued the city. But no one did because I put an orange cone there to save someone from getting hurt. And then I talked to some gentleman that was working on the street, and I explained to him, I said, God forbid, it's a little hole, and it's getting bigger and bigger. We try to fill it up with concrete, it wouldn't fill up. My respect to this guy, I'm not gonna say his name, he called someone, 2 weeks later it was fixed. I just don't understand. But thank God for that guy that no one fell in that hole and got hurt from the old folks home. And I thank you, my respect.
Sir, could you just state your name, please?
Timothy Holden. My grandmother, May Holden, swam out to the lighthouse back in the olden days and came back to the beach. And my father was such a close friend to George Colella. When my father was dying, George Colella came at the house twice and showed his respect to my dad before he died. And my father worked for the city, Donald Holden. If you ever look up his name, you know he's a respectable man.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Santana.
Right. My name's Elizabeth Santana. I live on the first floor. And we've been there about 5 years. And we haven't had any problems either. And, the landlord gives us like a low rent, and we really can't afford to go anywhere else. And I mean, in 5 years, there's been no fire problems, no electrical problems. We haven't had any problems at all. And I have a son with mental illness. If I wind up on the street in 24 hours, I'm afraid he's going to be committed to a psych ward. I mean, he has had 2 suicide attempts. I can't wind up in the street with him. I really can't. I didn't know that this was going to happen because when we got the notice, I just thought the city was going to work it out with the owner. And so even my other son that don't live with me, he gave a roofing estimate. Everybody's trying to do their part to keep us in the house. And there's really no reason to force us out. It's really not dangerous. As far as the fire thing goes, when they came out to inspect, we had the smoke detectors up. They said something about they wanted it hardwired. But now the issue with the electric, I was wondering just to not put, us on the street. I know it's at this late date, but where they said it's not safe and there have to be like changes made to the electric instead of shutting off the power. Would you be able at this meeting to give the landlord like so many days to fix that, to allow us to stay there?
I believe that might be something better, that you guys
Sure, I
can
think-
better ask either the electrician or if someone from fire is here.
So before this board is just a decision to issue a condemnation or not. This board does not have authority over the electrical inspector, and the electrical inspector has made his determination supported by the fire department. So he is issuing that order. The question is whether or not the property's going to be condemned. I could tell you what I've said in previous hearings, and we've shown on behalf of the city, that we have never, ever displaced an occupant onto the street when having to do a condemnation. We have always gotten help. We've always gotten them a place and worked with our great social service partners to go and achieve that. And it sounds here that the owner has resources, he has other properties, he's likely to go and make this property safe for you, but it's not safe for you to be there until those repairs are made. That's the position of the city and the electrical inspector.
Well, the other thing is too, that you should know, is that the other properties he has are all full. He can't put us anywhere. So, well, you're saying that, in other words, the city is gonna locate us somewhere? Is that what you're saying?
The city is going to contact its social service partners and they have always stepped up and they have always helped us find relocation assistance for any occupant before, and they have no reason to think they wouldn't be successful again.
Okay, so, the other question is I have a bird and cat, and he has a dog, okay? The bird and cat are my son's emotional support animals, psychologically. If he loses them, I mean, I'm just afraid that, you know, I don't know what will happen. He'll probably wind up in a psych ward, I'll probably lose him. I mean, this is a real serious situation.
We've seen situations like this before, and as much as people have resisted getting properties brought up to the safety codes in many occasions before, the actual bringing the situations to light, getting the repairs, getting help in all areas that are needed, has ended up making the situations, both the property and people's lives and public safety, better. And that's the goal and the spirit in which this work is being done. And that is what I can assure you we would move, and how we would move forward, both on an emotional level, psychological level, as well as housing as
You
well.
can't give us like 30 days to try to like get out our fears in order?
We got no money.
I mean-
Waiting for an apartment.
Yeah.
We don't know what the hell is going on. You guys come up so fast and quick. You didn't tell us that you could just throw us out. Just saying.
We have
You see
no
like
money at
people with
all.
disease, and we just can't go into our apartments and say, who was the last person in here? They have COVID? We don't know. You can put us all to death.
The city has invested tremendous resources as well as its own goodwill to have help for you. The issue before the board is whether or not this property is unfit for human habitation. The electrical inspector and the department head has said that it is. The order declaring it has not been appealed and has not been challenged. And we will do everything within our power, and you have my word and commitment, to try and help all of the issues that you're raising. And I believe together with your cooperation, we can achieve that. We would ask that the board take a vote and approve the order.
I believe,
Just for the record, please.
Yeah,
I
I believe so.
understand. My name is Laurel Bretta. I represent Mr. Lewis Martin. I understand that a notice was sent out to Mr. Martin in August, mid-August 2021. And Mr. Martin is an 87-year-old man. His theory in operating property has been to provide housing for people at a very low rate of rent. And in fact, his market rents have typically been 50% of what anyone else would be charging, and the tenants could testify to that. He's never gone up on their rents for any substantial amount of money, and this property is in similar condition to the time he purchased the property. He did make efforts to try to get workmen into the property to do work when he received notice of the deficiencies between his age and I think some difficulties he had in locating contractors at this time, which is very difficult to do. He was delayed, and over the course of the last couple of weeks, he contacted my office to try to assist him, and unfortunately, there was a death in our office, so that I wasn't able to move in as quickly as possible. These conditions, although I don't minimize the risk to anybody, and I don't have anything to dispute the electrical inspector's findings, these conditions have existed for years and years, decades. And you can see from the presentation of the tenants that not only has Mr. Martin's tried to help them in terms of not charging them a large amount of rent, which is probably what's put him here, but also the fact that they're going to be considerably prejudiced by a condemnation award or a decision for condemnation. I have in fact contacted several contractors as well as left messages for 2 electrical companies. I actually chose large companies in order to get somebody in there as quickly as possible. I have not gotten a call back. That started last week. I have spoken to one contractor who's willing to go in and start work, but he can't start it on an emergency basis. We all know how difficult it is in this particular market to do that. So my request would be that the board put this over for a bit of time, allow the tenants to reside where they're residing. This condition has existed for decades, and this is the first issue that this landlord has ever had with the city, to my knowledge, and then allow me to step into Mr. Martin's shoes and try to expedite getting an electrician in, because that seems to be the main issue. So we're asking that the condemnation order not enter tonight because of, on balance, the prejudice to the tenants, and also the fact that this is not a condition that just happened overnight, and it's a condition that has existed for a long period of time. If the condemnation award goes in, the tenants are correct. There are no places to put them in Mr. Martin's other property because he lives in one of them, and the other one is a single family that is being rented, again, under market, because Mr. Martin's doesn't feel that he should be putting people in a situation where they can't afford to pay rent. So thank you.
Thank you. And just to clarify, it sounds like we do not have the authority as the Board of Health this evening to extend, like, any time. Our jurisdiction this evening is just to vote yes or no on the condemnation. Is that correct?
You can give time on the condemnation, but you do not have jurisdiction over the electrical inspector, who's going to be notifying the power company on Thursday morning.
On Thursday morning to shut the power off. Yep. Okay.
May I have an opportunity to speak?
Sure.
Hi, George Rotundo, Revere City Councilor. 843, 841 are both old, what I would call cottages. 843 is a 2-family that's been taxed as a 2-family. Next to it is the gray store. If you do condemn this property, they do have to leave. What time frame? And the other thing is, as I know that we have in the past as a city, put people up in hotels, before you condemn them to leave, that should be set in place. And I would hope that would be the interest of this body, understanding Dr. Kong and the rest of you. If that does take place and you do vote to condemn, I would hope that that would be the first thing that takes place. Thank you.
Would you mind commenting on that? I think we've kind of experienced this, at least me and you, in the past. But I guess what are the steps and what is your success rate in relocating tenants?
Sure. In the limited times that we have done this, but unfortunate times, we have, Council, we have always arranged for and secured housing assistance for any occupant that was willing to go and accept the help. And whether that was the social service agency putting them up themselves, giving them money towards first and last or temporary time at a hotel, there are numerous resources available, and we will pursue all of them, and we have been successful 100% of the time. And we have, there's absolutely no reason to think that we won't again. I give my word to Councilor Rotundo.
Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, I have another question. So, given that decision, what is the date we have till in our apartments?
Is it in the,
Well, that's going to be the vote, that's going to be the vote of the board. The Department of Municipal Inspections is asking for a date of Thursday.
okay, so 48 hours.
Thursday.
Okay. Any other comments or questions before we put it to a vote?
Do we have Thursday all day, or is there a certain time?
We would ask for Thursday at the end of the day. We
By
just
the end
can't,
of the day?
we can't control the power company, so we just have to be careful.
So how we're gonna stop?
We're going
Is this place gonna?
we're going to work with you, sir.
And do we have phone numbers that you're gonna give us?
We're going to go and spend as much time as we need together
What, right now?
right now.
Okay, yeah, because we have animals, we have to make arrangements, and we need to have a place to, we need to make sure that we're put up somewhere, because neither one of us have any money.
We're not going anywhere. We're going to sit and spend as much time together as we need to work through these issues.
Any other comments from,
You can't at least have at least 30 days to, because we've been living in there ever since, there's
Yeah.
nothing really happened since then.
it sounds like, based on what is before us and what the electrician is saying, that is that they'll call they're calling the power company on Thursday, regardless of what we decide, based on their determination. So we don't have control over the electrician calling the electric company to shut the power off on Thursday. So it sounds like that's going to happen no matter what, based on their assessment of the current conditions that they're seeing and the current, I guess, safety or hazard level that they're seeing.
That's a sin. We gotta go till Thursday. I work every day, try to make a family for myself. I just hope I die in that house tonight.
Okay, so we just wait for you outside?
Okay. So if there are no further are there any other comments?
Board ethics?
Yeah.
I think what's a sin is the conditions that they're into, and it's such, an unsafe condition. That's, we're protecting them, basically. They don't understand that.
Any other comments? All right. So I guess we'll be putting it to a vote. Do you guys have a comment or question? Otherwise, I think we're just going to put it to a vote whether to condemn 843 North Shore Road. Yeah, okay. I unfortunately vote to condemn it tonight. I don't think it sounds like, based on the documents here, it's not safe. And in thinking about this past year and the massive 4-alarm fires we've had in this past year alone in the city, I don't know if I could be able to sleep tonight, knowing that I'm letting four folks, including a child, her son, be in that condition. So that's my vote.
As much as I would like to help them extend like a week or two, given like their situation, animals, the family, for me, safety is number one. And I'm gonna go ahead and follow Dr. Kong, and I'm good, I'm okay with condemnation too.
Yes, and I feel the same way. I wish we could have some type of situation where we could have a continuance so that we wouldn't have to face a situation like this. But despite what they're going through and their loss, I'm going to have to say yes as well.
It's unanimous. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
If you would please help them, yes.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
Paul, take care of it.
Great. It is about 7 o'clock now. We have about 30 minutes to discuss and start the public hearing on amendments to the smoke-free workplace regulation. Oh, gosh. I just also want to point out that in addition to what we're going to be hearing this evening, we did receive many phone calls and emails, and we did have a chance to review it. So for those who had called in or sent us emails, know that we read every single one of them. I actually have the emails splayed out in front of me this evening. And with that, I'll have Lauren kick us off for tonight's proceedings.
Thanks, Dr. Kong. I just want to briefly give a synopsis of kind of what's before you tonight. Our current workplace smoking regulations were voted in by the Board of Health back in 2004. So the amendments that you're looking at tonight reflect, first of all, more concise language, some adding to definitions that were not in the previous regulation. But the true substantive changes are in Section 4, smoking prohibited. And there are three kind of changes, amendments to what is currently in place. Section 4, Part C, states pursuant to MGL Chapter 270, Section 22J, smoking is also hereby prohibited within 50 feet of a municipal building, including school buildings. This is what's called a buffer zone. We've actually gotten complaints at the Public Health Department about smoking around school areas within the last month. And when we looked at our current regulations, we noticed they were a little out of date with some language to update the fact that that smoking potentially needs to be prohibited within 50 feet of municipal and school buildings. So that is up for the board to be voted on, yes or no. Section 4, Part D, talks about the use of electronic nicotine delivery system, which would be prohibited wherever smoking is prohibited, and wherever smoking is prohibited per Section 4C of this regulation. So that is just updating the regulation to reflect the fact that both cigarettes and electronic nicotine delivery systems would be included in this updated regulation. And then the final section is Part E, which is about smoking bars, which again will be voted on tonight by the Board of Health. Smoking bars will either be prohibited or smoking bars will be permitted in no greater than 3 in the city, which includes cigar bars and hookah bars located within the city of Revere, which would be subject to the issuance and maintenance of a valid smoking bar permit granted by the Massachusetts Department of Revenue. So those are the 3 substantive changes that are before the board tonight to vote on. Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren. As you mentioned, those are the 3 we're going to be discussing this evening, and we are going to be going around and having folks who are for and against these amendments, these regulations, particularly the smoking bar one. And we'll have first those who are for the regulations, specifically those who are for the smoking bars. And then after that, we'll hear from those who are against the smoking bars. Just a couple ground rules. There's a lot of people here this evening, and we have a little under 30 minutes, and I want to make sure everyone's voices are heard. So everyone shall have no more than 2 minutes to speak up at the podium. Please state your name when you come up, and don't forget to push the button so that the little light turns red. Obviously, 1 speaker at a time. And I'd ask, to please be kind. Also, in the interest of time, if, depending on how many do come up, I may end up asking for a show of hands to see who agrees with that statement so that we don't have multiple folks coming in saying the same thing. And I'll try my best to chime in and add voice to those who have sent me emails. They're all in front of me today, so if anything is kind of in agreement, I'll make sure the emails are heard as well. So with that said, I'd like to start with those who are here in favor of this smoking, the hookah bar. So if you'd like to come up and state your name, please feel free. Love to hear from you.
Hello, my name is Mohammed Denny. How are you today, everybody? Thank you
Good evening.
for having us and hearing us. So I'm a hookah lounge owner in Cambridge. I'm also a professional hookah chef worldwide, and I've been smoking hookah for about 14 years. And to me, it came from a cultural aspect from my family from Lebanon, and hookah originated from India. So from there, it made its way from the 16th century all the way through into Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, made its way to Egypt, made its way to Russia, and today it's been modernized so much it's escalated to hookah competitions. I am actually being hosted at one this Saturday in Las Vegas to compete about 20 other countries in making hookah. So it's escalated to a standing point where it's global. And with it going global, obviously things come into place to making it better and more efficient, which comes into safety regulations, just like with smoking cigarettes when it first started the way it was, just like with drinking alcohol, like the way it started. Everything in moderation is okay for you, everything with the right safety requirements is okay with you, as long as all that's in place, I don't see it being an issue being open anywhere because, you know, you're 21 years old and you get the right to drink and or smoke. But at 18, you could go to the military, you know, take a life at that point in time if you have to survive. So 3 more years later, you could drink and smoke. So it's kind of like a fine line of so many different hairy things, and we spend so much time on it, and smoking's been around since the beginning for hundreds of years. Whether it's cigarettes, hookah was, you know, before the cigarette, if you really want to talk about it, right? And putting that all into perspective, there's many rightful things that you can do to continue to keep them open with the right regulations and having that all in place. So, any questions for me?
Thank you. Any questions?
Try to keep it under 2 minutes.
Thank you so much. You did a great job. All right. Anyone else who is for, please?
Good evening, Dr. Kong, fellow members and members of the Board of Health. Good to see you again. Obviously, my name is Christopher Cardler from D'Ambrosio Brown. I represent Mr. Muad Abugala, so most people will know him as Saber. And as I'm sure you'll probably find out, there are quite a few people here who are actually here to support this amendment and to support a smoking bar and our client's ability to open up his own hookah bar, predominantly for cultural reasons. Part of the much of Indian and Asian and Middle Eastern and Arab cultures, Northern African cultures, really see hookah as a communal experience. It's a safe place for people to share, for people to relax and enjoy each other's company in just a very societal, just a very kind of group atmosphere. In those of us raised in Western culture, it's somewhat akin to going to a bar, going out to watch a football game or a baseball game and having that ability. And just gives those folks who just may not necessarily choose to drink alcohol or are not permitted to drink alcohol based upon religious purposes, that same experience, that same communal and social experience. And it just creates that safe, comfortable, casual space for those folks to do so. Now, Mr. Abugala does wish to open, sorry, I promise, be very quick. Thank you. He does wish to open a small hookah lounge on Winthrop Avenue, just off of Broadway. He does have parking available. He is the owner of the Good Diner, and that parking is available right there as well. He will not serve alcohol. There's absolutely no intention whatsoever to serve alcohol at the hookah lounge. And he will only serve 2 reasonable adults who are 21 years of age or older. Finally, he's also willing to create time constraints on this type of hookah lounge where he would only require the indoor space from October 1st until the end of May, so May 31st. So that is one concession that he is willing to make, just in an ability to try and create this space for members of his community and those for the Revere community as well. Revere is a very, very diverse city. It should pay off, and it should allow all of its members of the community to have some say in how they spend their time together. So thank you very much for your time. I'm sure there are many other folks after me who would like to speak in favor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Brian Riccio, 540 Revere Beach Boulevard. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today, members of the board. I was born and raised in Revere. I love Revere, and I chose recently to move back and spend my retirement here. One of the main reasons why is a strong sense of community that Revere enjoys. And it's in that spirit that I appear in front of you to speak for Mr. Saber Abugala. I'm wholeheartedly in support of his efforts to open a space that will not only serve the growing by the day Muslim community of Revere, but all of the citizens of Revere that Saber has gained a well-deserved reputation for serving. All one has to do is a simple Google search, and you can see the proof of what I'm saying. Saber has given back tirelessly to the community he chose to make home with his family many years ago, from his never-ending charity work by feeding the homeless and hungry at the First Congregational Church, with his now yearly Thanksgiving dinner giveaways, to the many free meals he's provided to our most valuable residents, our beloved seniors, all at his own expense. Saber has been lauded for his charity work by not only Mayor Arrigo, with a commendation from the City Council. His work has been lauded at the highest level of Massachusetts government, with commendations from not only former Democratic Speaker Bob DeLeo, but also Republican Governor Charlie Baker. I've secured statements of support for Saber's proposed business from Revere officials such as Council McKenna, Morabito, Visconti, Zambuto, Keefe, and Council candidate Cogliandro. Mayor Arrigo also supports Saber in this effort, as does many in the community, as you can see here tonight. I beseech this board with the highest respect to grant the relief that Saber is requesting. He has always followed the letter of the law in whatever way Revere has asked him in his business endeavors. Saber is not only looking to provide a meeting place for not only him and the Muslim community, who have so few now as it is in Revere, he is looking to continue to provide for his family and the whole family that is Revere. And he has assured me and many others that any regulatory oversight this body wishes Saber to observe so that an equitable compromise can be reached between you good public servants and his proposed business will be strongly observed, without exception. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mohammed Nadeem, and I'm a resident of city of Everett, city of Revere, sorry. And today, I'm originally from India, and from where the hookah started, the origin, And I'm in the strong support of it because it's a part of a culture. As a guest come to our house, as a part of hospitality, we offer the hookah to them. And we have some dates and nuts and teas and traditional teas. So that's a part of socialization in our culture, And that's from there it started to Persia, Turkey, and then the Middle East part of Lebanon and Saudi Arabia and all this part, So basically, being a resident of Revere, I work 60 to 70 hours a week, and I need some place to hang out, being a Muslim, I can't drink. I can't go to club, I can't go to a bar. I have no place to hang out, This is the only place, we all get together, all adults, we talk, we chit-chat about the politics, about the business, the career, and everything. We need a place, After, in 2020, in June, they banned tobacco flavor ban. So we can't purchase any tobacco product from the Massachusetts. But the state given an exception to the hookah launch just for the cultural reason, not for anything else, just only for the cultural reason for us, so we can go out and we can sit down and we can just enjoy our hookah and then we have some chat. And it's not like before, there are many people here who are concerned about the kids. They're getting attraction, they get the wrong message about the hookah and tradition and everything. But the first thing, they're not even allowed to get in. It's 21 plus, You're not allowed to get in, They are very strict with the checking IDs and everything, So this is our thing, not for them, And now it's not like the hookah before the cleaning process and everything. Now they have individual hookahs, they have disposable hoses. Like Turkey, they built a new FDA-approved product, for the filters. So it's more you can't have the toxic chemicals or tar or anything. It's way more advanced than before. So being a resident and being an adult, I would like to have my, place to smoke somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Aya Ayatollah. I've been living in Revere 7 years now. I live in 94 Linway, Revere. And as a Muslim, I cannot go to a bar. First thing, I love the area, but sadly, we don't have a place where we can go. We have place for food, but not hookah. Hookah is part of our something we like to do. And I forgot, I'm from Morocco. And if we want to go to a hookah, we have to drive 45 minutes or go to Rhode Island, which is 1.5 hours driving. We wish if we can have something in here. And it's something fruity. It's not something addictive. It's something we like to do as a Muslim. And we wish if we can have something in here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Abi Galata. I'm from Ethiopia, East Africa. The hookah is, it's our culture. When I grew up in a village, all my family and the neighbor and all the villages smoking, I was adult. So I moved to US 20 years ago in Revere. Since before I came to US, and I was 25 years old. So I started smoking back home 3 years, then I moved to US. Then when I came here, there is no sweet place to smoke hookah and also like that for almost 20 years now. We have to go somebody mentioned here, we have to go outside of the city 40 miles, 30 miles to smoke the hookah. So I support hookah bar in Revere if it's possible. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, my name is Juan Jaramillo. I'm the owner of Sophie's Tech, and I'm here in Broadway, and I'm an advocate for businesses in Broadway. And I know Saber for such a long time. He was the first person actually to hire me to do his sign about 15 years ago. And I've been knowing him really well, and I know he's a businessman. He's a great person. He's a person who's looking to do some business, sustain his family, and really help the community, which he's been doing for a long, long time. So I just want to advocate for him, and whatever he needs, I'm going to help him out as much as I can as a brother, all right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tony Portillo. I'm a resident of Revere. I have a sports bar in Everett, and for years I've been thinking and asking different people, I wish Revere opened a hookah bar. Now, every have a couple of hookah bars, Cambridge, Somerville, and why not in Revere? That's an income, not just for somebody to start a new business, but for the city of Revere too. It's it's an income because it's kind of, for taxes. I think any business could be, a sports bar would sell liquor or would sell hookah. It's going to be issues if you don't know how to run it. But if you pick the right person to run a business, I think it'd be an asset for the city of Revere. Because now the residents of Revere, they don't have to go to Everett, they don't have to go to other cities to spend the money. They can spend the money right here in Revere. My dream is I hope one day to have a sports bar with hookah. And I've been running a business in Everett for the last 10 years, have no issues. And like I say, I support the hookah bars as long as you pick the right people to open that kind of business. I think they will be, like I say, a good asset to the city of Revere.
Perhaps you should let the folks know too that there's a hookah bar in Everett, because it sounds like they're driving 40 or 50 miles to Rhode Island to go to a hookah bar. At midnight?
Yeah, it's limited to what it can bring in too. So each one has something that the other one doesn't have. So in accordance, every hookah lounge doesn't have its full license, whether it's alcohol or hookah.
Okay.
So each one is providing a certain thing. What there isn't here is we spend a lot of time talking about hookah, but we should do a little bit more research and kind of expand it out into allowing these places to capitalize on what they can do. Because they're able to go beyond the licensing that they're eliminated what it's putting them into. Because we focus a lot of time on it. Like you can sit inside of a hookah lounge, smoke 4 bowls of hookah, which take you about 5 hours, but you can drink a whole bottle of liquor. I can still drive home. Right? So there's danger. You can talk about dangerous situations Sunday about anything that we can do. So that what we're trying to say here is so let such limitation on something that is already known of, right? Smoking's been around for a long time. If you do it, it's going to kill you at some point. If you drink and drive, it's going to kill you at some whatever. It's gonna, it may happen if you do it the right way, the wrong way. But if it's the regulations are on it are correct, and research is done more, and it's seen how it's modernized today for safety and for the regulations it's able to provide. Because if you go to Europe, for example, they're going on to 6,000-7,000 square feet.
Yeah.
There, and
Yeah.
it's 2,000 people. It's insane. If you go to my country in Lebanon, and it's a third world country where it just got blown up last year and half of it's missing, and they're still arguing about it.
Yeah. 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 We're gonna. I would also like to let the gentleman who's standing at the podium have a minute to speak. Sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you all for your time. My name is David Riccio. I've been a resident in Revere for 30 years. I've owned a cigar lounge in Boston for the past 30 years. I had no citations, no issues, no problems. I ran a wonderful business. I recently sold that business. I want to open a new cigar lounge in Revere, which I think is a world-class city. My son and I are going to be running it, and I think it's a great thing for this body just to have a concept of even allowing free licenses. I think every city should have that. If you don't have those licenses, all those customers and people are going to go to another city. So if you want Revere to be a world-class city, I think you should vote on those 3 licenses. Thank you for your time.
Actually, in the interest of time, it's 7:20. I'm going to ask if there's a show of hands. Who else wants to speak for? So, sorry, who else wants to speak for? So also you, okay, all right, so 2 more. All right, go ahead. We're going to, go.
Hi, George Rotundo, 9 DeHone Street. And if you look at this picture, this is September 16th, 2018. The man behind me, the man who bought the pizza, sitting right there. This is from the 10 Franklin Street fire, where multiple people were dislodged from their life. But more importantly, Sabir is a man of his word. If he says he's going to do something, he will do it, and he will do it correctly. But more importantly, this is something, as this gentleman just pointed out, is pretty much culturally accepted throughout the world. As the gentleman from Stanza di Sagazze said, this is something that will add to the city. We all have personal choice, whether you drink today, whether you smoke marijuana, or whether you smoke cigars, which I do. People should have the choice to do that. This place will not serve liquor. It is a lounge. At best, it'll serve coffee and possibly pastry. I would hope this body would give the opportunity for the people of Revere to enjoy the pleasures that they wish and allow adults to do what adults wish to do. With that said, I hope you vote favorably for these 3 licenses, and I am sure that they will be watched on stringently. Thank you.
Could you push the button, please?
Attorney Jerry D'Ambrosio here today, really not as an advocate, but as a friend to Sabre. It's days like this that I'm actually proud that this is my home city, where you see so many people come before a board, black, white, Hispanic, Catholic, Muslim. Everybody's here together in recognition of a common theme. You often hear about the ugly things in the news, but you don't see a city come together so much as you have tonight. And really at the heart of it is Sabre. He is one of the most wonderful human beings I have ever met in my life. I think that goes uncontested. And I really do want to emphasize that. One of the most wonderful human beings in the city of Revere. And he adds so much to our fabric of racial cohesion, enjoyment, and happiness. Now, as a legal matter, I hate to complicate this, but the task before you is actually a lot more difficult, I respectfully submit, than just either voting this up or down. We live in a regulated society today, whether we're talking about tobacco, whether we're talking about alcohol, whether we're talking about controlled substances, or whether we're talking about over-the-counter substances. At the end of the day, your job is very difficult, not because it's an up or down vote, because it seldom is, and it shouldn't be. Your job is difficult because you need to strike the balance between health and freedom. Those are the 2 things that you're weighing as you sit here tonight. And so it's really not as simple as saying, no, we're not going to allow this use, or yes, we are. It's much more complicated than that. And I'd suggest to you that if you just vote tonight not to allow this type of license, which has already been allowed in Everett, which has already been allowed in Somerville, which has already been allowed in Boston, which has already been allowed in numerous metropolitan areas.
Sorry, the 2 minutes is
Well, just if I conclude, what you're really doing is abdicating the difficulty of what you need to do.
Okay.
With proper conditions, this license or any one of these 3 licenses can be issued. That's where your difficulty is in looking at each one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All righty. So it's almost 7:30. Anyone who is against the workplace smoking regulation, the hookah bar, who'd like to come up, and please come up to the podium, state your name, and just let us know. Again, 2 minutes.
Good afternoon. I stand here not necessarily in opposition, but I just would like to clarify a few things. I'm Cheryl Sabara, the Senior Staff Attorney and Executive Director for the Massachusetts Association of Health Boards, and I agree with my brother counsel that this is a complicated issue. I don't doubt for 1 minute that the gentleman who is proposing this hookah lounge is an extremely great gentleman. I have absolutely no question about that. However, it's more complicated than that because you're looking at 3 smoking bar licenses that will be available in Revere if this amendment goes through. That means they could be cigar bars, vaping bars, or hookah lounges. We have 24 of these smoking bars in the entire state. 2 of them are in Everett. So I don't think people would have to travel too far in order to find a hookah bar. I would also just point out that hookah itself carries some unique challenges. And if this hookah lounge goes forward, I would suggest that the board look at these unique challenges. You have a water basin, you have sharing of the product, unlike with a cigarette. So if you are looking at permitting hookah lounges in Revere, I would suggest that you look at some regulatory options here, like maybe requiring disposable tips, maybe requiring cleaning of the hose after each use. I mean, there are some unique challenges with this particular smoking apparatus that I think really do need to be addressed. And I would also, everyone here has talked about this gentleman who is wonderful. We don't know other folks that might come into this equation. We know this gentleman is upstanding and wants to do the right thing. But, you know, trying to create a variance for him is different than amending a regulation so that you would have 3 licenses. And I think there's a huge problem, and I would speak with the city solicitor about trying to craft out something unique to one individual. Thank you.
Anyone else who is against? We're not taking more from the proponents because we've spent 30 minutes.
Just a rebuttal, ma'am. I've spoken with Mr. Abigail. I'm at high risk for COVID, and he has assured me that all of the tips will be disposable that will be used in his establishment.
Thank you. And for those who are against the regulation, please step forward.
Good evening. My name is Viviana. I come here today to speak to you as a resident. I live on Mountain Avenue. I come to speak to you as a mother, and I come to speak to you as somebody who has worked in the field of prevention for over 10 years. I'm also here to present to you a letter signed by 93 students at Revere High School. First I'll start with the student statements because I want to make sure I don't run out of time, and then I'll go into my reasons for opposing the smoking bars. The letter states, students from the Power of No Club in the Youth Leadership Council, we strongly oppose smoking bars in Revere. We're tired of being targeted by the tobacco and vaping industry as their replacement smokers. We are done enriching the pockets of people who will benefit from our addiction. We ask our city leaders to build an environment that helps us to thrive. Say no to smoking bars. And what are our reasons to oppose this? We know that hookah bars, smoke bars, cigars bars, can include flavors. And while Massachusetts banned flavors in November of 2019, flavors are still allowed in these smoking bars. We are currently dealing with a vaping crisis among our teens. And we know that what led to this vaping crisis was the flavors. The young people didn't start using it for the nicotine. They started using it because it was Apple, because it was bubble gum. We have students here who have signed this letter who have shared testimony that they're still seeing their peers using these vapes in the school. The vapes are being dumped down the drain. So they know that this is an issue. They see that their peers are addicted to this product, and they're very sad about it. We also know that tobacco causes chronic disease and shortens lives. And we have come a really long way as a city and as a state to reduce the number of young people that smoke tobacco. We don't want to send a message right now saying that tobacco use is okay. And again, oh, all right, thank you.
Thank you very
I would just
much.
like to pass this out for your
Oh,
consideration.
sure, if you want to, yeah, you can give it to Paula. Any other folks who are against, please?
Hi, my name is Maureen Busby. I live at 54 West Highland Avenue in Melrose, Mass. I am also the Tobacco Prevention Program Coordinator for Malden, Medford, Melrose, Wakefield, and Winchester. And as you know, Malden borders Revere in some places. In addition to some other concerns that have been shared tonight, I just wanted to share some concerns about hookah itself. Many people falsely believe that because hookah is passed through water, it is less risky to smoke hookah than other tobacco products. Hookah contains as much, if not more, nicotine than a regular cigarette. Because of the method of use, hookah users actually absorb more toxins than cigarette smokers. A 1-hour session will cause 100 to 200 times more inhalation than smoking one cigarette. A study showed that a 45-minute hookah session increased nicotine intake by 250% compared to smoking a cigarette. A gram of hookah tobacco has 100 times more tar, 4 times more nicotine, and 11 times more carbon monoxide than a gram of cigarette tobacco. The amount of tobacco used in a hookah session is significantly greater than the amount in a standard cigarette. There is real danger in using hookah or simply breathing in the secondhand smoke from hookah. Just hanging out in a hookah cafe puts you at risk for nicotine addiction and health issues. Hookah is very popular among young adults, especially those of college age. If you are not a cigarette smoker, using hookah may encourage you to start. People who smoke a water pipe are 8 times more likely to use a cigarette. I think we all know the adverse effects of cigarette smoking, and we know that tobacco is highly addictive. If you are in a room with hookah tobacco smoke, you are exposing yourself to dangerous carcinogens. That's what we want to avoid, especially for our young people who are very intrigued by the social aspect of hookah bars. Young people are more susceptible to nicotine addiction than older adults. Our goal and our responsibility is to safeguard their health. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other proponents? Oh, come on. Oh, I'm sorry, proponents.
Good evening. My name is Bonnie Carroll, and I'm the director of the 6-City Tobacco Initiative, one of which cities is Revere. And I just want to clarify one thing that you heard earlier from the attorney. I apologize, I didn't get his name, but I believe he said that there are smoker bars allowed in Somerville, and that's not the case. The only smoking bars within the 6 cities are in Everett. Pardon me. I just wanted to read something quickly from the American Lung Association under the heading, "What are the health risks?" And it says, nicotine is an addictive drug that can have lasting damaging effects on the adolescent brain development, and it has been linked to a variety of adverse health concerns for developing people. Hookah is linked to many of the same adverse health effects as cigarette smoking, such as lung, bladder, and oral cancers and heart disease. Long-term effects include impaired pulmonary function, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, esophageal cancer, and gastric cancer. Even short-term hookah use is associated with acute health effects, including increased heart rate and blood pressure, reduced pulmonary function, and carbon monoxide intoxication. And I think my colleague mentioned, and I'll just reiterate, that employees working in hookah lounges, smoking bars, cigar bars, are all exposed to secondhand smoke, which is exactly why the state put into effect a smoke-free workplace law to protect workers from secondhand smoke. And customers in a hookah lounge would not only be exposed to the smoke that they're taking in themselves, but it would be a double exposure. They would be exposed to the secondhand smoke. So I would like you to consider those things when you make your decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to step up against the smoking bar amendment?
I'd like to stand correct one thing that was misstated here in the record, that minors would be involved in smoking here. That is not the case. Thank you.
Yep. If there's no one else here, we do have 12 emails and we had 3 phone calls. I don't have the transcripts of the phone calls, but I do have some emails here from Revere residents. Looks like Sonia Guzman is a respiratory therapist who also sent us email saying to vote no on this, is not for it. And then a couple residents, Deborah Gomorrah, who's a resident 13 years. Another couple who's been living in Revere for 16 years. They have a 14, a 12, and a 9-year-old also against it. Another long-term resident of the city emailed out against it. And then there's a couple of teachers who had sent an email as well, Patricia Maloney, and then, or rather, Patricia Maloney is oh no, wrong one. Michaela Cerrone, she's a teacher at Revere High, seeing students vaping in the bathroom. A lot of these are just concerns about, I think something that you had mentioned about the tobacco industry targeting children, and I think with the signatures from from Revere Cares also is, kind of referencing that as well. Another person who's also, this may be a student, I'm not totally sure, but also commenting on students vaping in the bathroom. So lots of other comments that we're getting from emails, 12 emails total, basically saying, longtime resident, not just kind of giving voice to at least it seems like the side of the room who's been wanting to say no to that. And I guess the hour it's 7:36, so I think we should probably put it to a vote. Sorry, no more. I don't think we have time for any further comments. But I guess we should vote, guys. Are you guys, Neza, do you have any questions, or Craig, do you have any questions for any audience members? Anything to clarify? Neza? Not at this time. Are you guys ready to put? Sorry, say that again?
No, I don't know if Greg has anything to add. I mean, all the testimonies, like a lot of you gave me an idea about what we're looking for, either you're for it or against it. So some of my questions that I have written, they've been kind of answered.
They've been answered. Okay. So I guess we should put it to a vote. So there's 3 things that we're going to be voting on. The first one we're going to focus on is obviously the reason why everyone's here, and that's the amendment to adding no greater than 3 smoking bars, which includes cigar and hookah bars in the city of Revere. As you had mentioned, it sounds like this Saber is an upstanding gentleman. He has done so much for the city of Revere. Unfortunately, I can't obviously regulate or amend a law based on one individual's personality, and have to kind of look at it from all aspects. I believe our legal counsel in the room today have mentioned that this is a tough decision because we're balancing health and individual freedoms. Neza?
Yeah, I just have a question for the people who's applying for the licenses. It's a very, very quick question. So the area you're gonna be conducting the hookah, is it gonna be people coming in and just dining?
No.
Or is it gonna be separate from dining?
No, it's big, totally different building. It's different for no food there, no allowed food, no food, nothing. The food is in a restaurant. It's totally different. The issue, we have no place to go. We work like 70 hours, as he said, my friend said before. We're not allowed to go to the bar. We're not allowed to drink alcohol. We're not, as a Muslim, as a friend, we need some place to watch soccer, to watch baseball, watch basketball. That's all about it. Even myself, I'm not smoking. I'm just in this place to go. We don't know where we go as a community. And you know that in our country, as Egyptian, Lebanese, Indian, we need place to go. We're not allowed to go as the bar as a Muslim. I'm not allowed even to look at alcohol. And you know that.
Thank you.
Especially, with all my respect, we need place to sit down to watch a game, to watch a soccer. That's all about it.
Yep.
All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
we do need to put it to a vote right now because it's 7:38.
And everything is going to be by law, and everything over 21, everything, so everybody have to be vaccinated. There's only 16 people, 16 or 18 people. It's not really crazy place. And I respect the law. I respect you. I respect everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the clarification.
Thank you so much. All right, so I guess we're going to put, if you guys are ready to put to vote, Neza or Craig, do you guys want to kick us off? Oh, so like I was saying, there is, we have to kind of balance the public health, this is the Board of Health, so we're kind of thinking about, that's what I always think about every day, whether I'm here or whether I'm in my office taking care of patients, the very patients who live in this community. So that's what we're balancing. We can't unfortunately take into account his personality. And while I'm sure he is an upstanding citizen, and while I'd love to base all my decisions on that, we are the Board of Health and I need to take health into consideration. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be a no vote for me for the hookah bar, considering that there are places available in Everett, considering that there's going to be 3 permits, and unfortunately, we're not going to be able to monitor what kind of upstanding citizen is going to be applying for the other permits. So I'm sorry. Neza and Craig? Craig, do you have a vote? Or Neza, do you have a vote?
I'm still very mixed in this whole situation, but looking at both sides, it's very, very, very difficult in assessing which is more dangerous, giving up freedoms, giving up health.
Craig, do you have a vote?
I'll vote yes.
Yes. Neza, do you have a vote?
What can I say? I mean, it's like my colleague just said, it's a very hard decision. And if I put it on a scale and I'm looking at the cultural thing, and like everybody just stated here, we want the city, we want to help out the city. We don't want our money to go out to other cities, and I agree 100% with that. Unfortunately, when it comes to health issues, it's very addictive, and it's actually, I did some studies, and it's some small researches. It's 1 hour hookah, it's equivalent to 2 packs of cigarettes. And that's really...
Neza, do you have a vote?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't want to start any fighting here.
Please respect the board member, please.
Okay, I'm just going to go straight to the point, and my vote is no.
All right. So I guess that's a no to the smoking bar. We have 2 other ones to get through this evening. The next one is whether smoking is hereby prohibited within 50 feet of municipal buildings, including school buildings. I think that buffer zone rule makes a lot of sense, so I'm voting a yes to that. Neza and Craig, do you have a vote on that?
Yeah, I agree with you. My vote is no. I'm against.
You mean no. We're talking about the smoking prohibited 50 feet from municipal buildings, including school buildings. It's the buffer zone. That's another amendment we're adding.
Okay.
I'm voting a yes to prohibit smoking within 50 feet of municipal buildings, including schools. Is that your vote as well?
I'll vote no.
You're going to vote no for this C. Smoking hereby prohibited within 50 feet of municipal buildings, including school buildings,
The one that
otherwise known as a buffer zone. We're voting on 3 things today.
Yeah.
Sorry, say
No,
that.
all right, so yes.
Is that a yes vote for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the last thing we're going to vote on is including the language that says electronic nicotine delivery systems is prohibited wherever smoking is also prohibited. That makes sense to me, so I'm going to vote yes for that as well.
Yeah, my vote is yes for that, too.
Okay, so we're voting yes for the buffer zone, yes for electronic nicotine delivery systems, and then a no for the smoking bars.
Ma'am, if I could just comment, I just find it disingenuous that you had a room full of Revere residents and you chose to take the word of 3 of non-residents, okay? And I find it even more objectionable that as a marijuana patient, I can't get my own medicine in this town, and yet you're turning down the will of the people.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We do have signatures from 93 students, and we have 12 emails and 3 phone calls.
Yes, ma'am, but those are students who can't even buy tobacco, correct?
Yeah, but they do live in the city as well, and then we have 12 emails.
Well, I just can't help but feel that there's an element of racism at play here, ma'am. Thank you.
Excuse me, Dr. Kong and fellow members of the board. I was actually curious in terms of just ability of Saber, as everyone has mentioned, that he specifically is an upstanding gentleman and is able to provide a safe and regulated space. Were we to request an amendment just for one, or to seek some sort of relief from this board just for Saber's ability to open up the hookah lounge, would the board then reconsider?
I don't know if legally we're allowed to allow just one. I don't know if Cheryl wants. I don't know if you're legally allowed to just have one. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to pretend to know the answer to that. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn? I think that's it.
Second.
Thanks.